The Ochelli Effect is sponsored by WallStreetWindow.com and listeners like you.
Now, the most rigorous voice in all media, Chuck Ochelli. November 4, 2023, allegedly, according to that thing we call a calendar. And guess what? This is the Ochelli Effect, just like that little quick noise told you at the beginning of the show. We are live on the stream, and it's at an odd time of day here on a Saturday, which I don't usually broadcast on anymore anyway. I'm not trying to rhyme. It's just happening. All right. Anyways, I got puppies over on the side. So if you hear little squeaks, I can't help it. But that's not the feature for the show today, guys. And we're also recording video. So if you're seeing us on Rumble, Rockfin, whatever, hi. You're getting to look at my face, and you're going to look at a couple other guys, too. And we're going to have some fun talking about the JFK assassination for a couple of minutes and the upcoming conference between the 17th and the 19th of November in Dallas, Texas, at the Lorenzo Hotel. I keep wanting to say motel. The Lorenzo Hotel, there, the 17th through the 19th, JFK Lancer, November in Dallas. And yeah, I will be the MC there, introducing people in the breakout room, et cetera, et cetera. Still looking at whether I'm going to do a live broadcast, but we shall see. Two other guys involved in this particular event and also involved in the case when it comes to JFK are with me today. Damn it, there's that rhyming thing again. Anyways, Rob Clark, the guy from the Lone Gunman, and hey, Doug Campbell with us. Now, Doug is a little more of a rare quantity because I don't think Doug, you've been on my show yet, have you?
I never have. No, sir.
No, see,
this
now
is the first.
Rob has joined us for JFK Myth shows. He's brought some of the cool stuff, L. Ron Hubbard and all that madness onto an old myth show. I love it. Loads of fun. And by the way, the myths are coming back around, and who knows what's being challenged. Hey, I'm going to be in the same room with a prayer man guy actually in Dallas. Shh. Anyway, I won't be nowhere near Judy unless we decide to invade her conference and see if we can sell Walt Brown's books outside of her hotel, which we might do. Judith Mary Baker in her own words.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to have a case of those, copies of those in Dallas, by the way. Some I might give away for supporters. Some I might offer to sell to somebody if you really want one. And we might offer to sell them to some Judy fans outside of her conference. We're thinking about a way to pull that off. Anyhow, it is what it is. So let's get to it. The Lone Gunman, Dallas Action, Quick Hits, and the Ochelli Effect all on one show. And I'm going to shut up real soon. Rob, first, let's start with you, man. How you doing? Haven't talked to you in a while. You know, I am, by the way, talking to Carmine again, just so you know. You and I had a little back and forth regarding Carmine. He's feeling better, and he's been back on my show recently. So, you know, just to clear that up, because people had questions about that the last time that you and I talked. So,
yeah. No, I've been good, man. Just staying busy, staying with the show, keep banging the show out, doing some research in the background of things. I've been talking to Carmine as well. He's gonna be coming on the Lone Gunman in December. It's good to see him back. We're gonna piss off some Australians and see how he's doing. But yeah, looking forward to it. Bringing the old gang back together.
Right.
And
he's going to be making a presentation at Lancer too, and so are you. So can you give us a little preview about who the Martins are before I get over to Doug and talk to him some too? But can you give us a little preview about that? Because that's the way I see it listed on their site. Something having to do with the Martins. Are we talking about the witnesses to the assassination, or are we talking about somebody else? Who are we talking about?
Well, it's just a very generic, vague title to the presentation, I guess you could call it. You know, we stumbled upon a pattern, and we something we noticed with things or people associated with the assassination with the name J, first name J or middle name J, Martin, not F Martin, not P Martin, not L Martin, just J Martin. And we came across 30 of these people, Chuck. Mm-hmm. And so we started doing some deep dives on some certain ones, because some of them are just ancillary characters. They're coincidences. They're, things like Oswald's principal at Beauregard was a John G. Martin. And like the guy that took Marina and her family in is James Herbert Martin. We have two John Martins who filmed films related to the assassination, one in Dealey Plaza and one of Oswald in New Orleans and Walker's house. So we just kept digging.
Wasn't there a Martin on the DCA group too? The Dallas Cinema Associates? Wasn't there a guy named Martin there, or am I mistaken?
Yeah, that's one of the guys that did a Dealey Plaza film. That was John Martin Jr.
Right.
He worked at the Postal Annex building there with Harry Holmes, and he was definitely one of them.
Small world. So, Doug, you were involved in this too? I mean, were you part of the genesis of this when it was like, holy crap, why do we have so many people named Martin? And in fact, with the first letter J here, like in this nexus, were you involved in the initial part of it? Because that's usually the kind of thing that I know Rob just sort of finds all the time on his own. I don't know the way his mind works. It's just the way it is. But I mean, were you involved in the beginning of this too?
No, actually, we unless not really, people would be surprised. I think that Rob and I communicate every day, several times a day, but how little we actually communicate about research. It's always other things. He's got his circle and I got mine, but no, this is we've both been very interested and very intrigued by the possibilities and the things that are suggested by the John T. Martin film for years, and I think that was probably part of the genesis. But Rob and I have been discussing that for a decade now. That's probably a very important. There's no coincidence what that film's about. But nah, man, this is Rob's project, dude. Him and his buddy, him and his research partner Joe Borelli have put all this together.
Right. I was going to mention that. Is that actually Joe Borelli is listed there on the presentation for the Martins thing. And I don't know Joe Borelli. Again, I know it sounds crazy, but I don't listen to everybody's podcasts and I don't necessarily keep track of everybody's research because I usually got my head in my own circle of nonsense. So, it's hard to pull it out sometimes, Rob. You know how it is.
Yeah.
I know that's all suggestive, but anyway, yeah, go ahead. But Borelli, I don't know him. So, I mean, could one of you guys give me an idea about, who Joe is? And, again, apologies. Maybe I should have heard of him by now, but I haven't.
We actually met Joe. He was emailing quick hits with investigatory leads. We would get suddenly he was a listener and he would email and it would be 3, 4, 5 paragraphs long of just great information. Fantastic research.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I hooked up with him and he kind of noticed this pattern of the J Martin deal. So we just kind of hooked up and for the past year and a half, we've been diving really hard into a lot of these different Martinses associated with the assassination and found some new information, some revelatory, if you want to call it that, information on some of these guys. Of course, for the Lancer presentation, we couldn't go, balls out for it because we only have an hour.
Right.
So, we picked a couple and hit some highlights of them. And then moving forward after Lancer on the Lone Gunman podcast, we're going to be taking it live on YouTube and we're going to be going in depth and doing in-depth shows on this stuff until we run out of material. But just for instance, like I could do an hour just looking at John T. Martin at the University of Minnesota in 1968 when he was meeting with Schoner and Weisberg. Because the provenance of the John T. Martin film, it's very interesting, Chuck. So if you go to the 6th Floor Museum, that's really the only place that you can find it online. And apparently this guy, John T. Martin, turned his film over to Gary Mack in 2007. And it was under the auspices that he never be contacted again and nobody could ever give out his contact information.
Okay.
So, and this guy thought he was handing Gary Mack his original film that he took in 1963. But what's interesting about the film that's at the 6th Floor Museum now is it has a date code stamped on the film, and the date code is 1977.
Wow.
Which means that somebody at the HSCA made a copy of this film and gave the copy back to John T. Martin and kept the original. Now the original is not in NARA at all.
This is familiar, guys. Think about our friend Gail Nix Jackson.
There you go.
And the Nix film.
Yeah.
Hey, we have no idea where the camera original is. Nobody knows.
See, now there are a bunch of films. Right. Now, that's the thing, Doug. Maybe you could list a couple more for listeners out there that don't necessarily realize, and they're probably going, well, what the hell is the difference if you got a copy or you got the original? Believe me, there is an importance to this and a pattern in the evidence. I'm telling the listeners this, not you guys. You guys know this. Yeah. But the thing is, there's this pattern of, we don't know if these things are the original prints. So that leads us to wonder what happened to all the originals, first of all. It leads us to wonder, and in a lot of cases, sometimes the HSCA is involved, so you got government agencies involved. But in other cases, it's a weird story. I haven't talked to Gail in some years, but I love her book. I love the quest for the film, obviously. I still support her, whether she wants to talk to me or not, whatever the cause is there. But I mean, it's a weird thing where they don't know where her grandfather's film is. And she's not the only one. There are many films, right? So, Doug, maybe give people an idea about a couple other films that have also kind of, gone in weird places. I can think of the most famous example that I still question. And it's not because I think the film is fabricated. No, I'm not going there. But I am saying that even the Zapruder film, if you take a look at what is extant at the National Archives, it is questionable as to whether that is anywhere near the original because of the strange markings on the film. And this is a pattern that has recurred.
Yeah.
With
the Zapruder film, man, me and Rob saw something crazy in DC a few years ago. I can't even remember. What were the names, Rob? The people that were doing this thing?
I couldn't even tell you.
Sydney and somebody, or
Sydney somebody, but they were referred to as the Hollywood crew.
Hollywood group. Okay, I'm familiar with. All right,
yeah, and we saw some what they alleged to be some of their preliminary work on the Zapruder film, and then me and Rob, we walked away from there that night, and I was like, man, if that's real, that's crazy. That it looked like a black Sharpie attack. Isn't that what somebody said that night, Rob? But yeah.
The back of the head specifically, right? It's like crazy. Yeah. It's so dark, it doesn't look natural. And here's the thing about that is, where is their work right now? Because I haven't seen it publicly displayed. Do you guys even know where that is?
No clue.
No clue, man.
We never came out.
Like once a year, we were like, wow, man, another year. We never heard anything about that, and everybody that was at that conference we went to was very excited about it, and it certainly had us intrigued whether there's anything to do with
9 years ago. So
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Whether there's anything to it or not, it certainly had us kind of like, wow.
Right. The first time I heard about this is when Doug Horn put out that 5-volume set, right? And he mentioned that there were people that were working on this and they were film professionals. And meanwhile, again, folks, you the listeners out there, again, this is one film. It is the biggest one. It is the most well-known one. But this is just one example of the strangeness that's gone on here, where people have gone to study things, and even the study groups seem to, I don't know what happened. It just kind of poof. You don't even know what happens to these things. And eventually, like you guys said, you're looking at a film, the guy thinks he's turning over his film, but what was returned by the HSCA, I mean, whether it's the Nix film or the Pascal film, or it's, and any of them, it seems like. People have handled these things, and who knows where the hell all the originals are now. It's crazy, isn't it?
Or who knows how many disappeared that we, like the research community or the public, never knew about. Have you ever heard the story of the guy named Robert Croft?
It's familiar. Go ahead, tell us.
Yeah, Robert Croft lived in Denver, Colorado, and he was a missionary, and he was a photography, sort of like an amateur photographer, a buff, hobbyist. And he was doing missionary work. Dr. Walt Brown actually writes about this. And we talked about it a couple of times, but
Croft read about it before. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's doing missionary work in the Ozark Mountains, like Oklahoma, that area. And he's on the train, and he gets off the train in Dallas, and there's like a layover there at the train station. And he asks, what's all the hubbub, right? Well, the president's going to come by. Oh, great. I'll take some pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And this is according to Croft. He goes down to Dealey Plaza, short walk, and he takes 3 to 4 photographs, and he's pretty sure he got the headshot, right?
Okay.
And all the pandemonium happens. He looks at his watch. Oh, shit, I'm going to miss the train. Runs back to the train station, jumps on the train, goes home to Denver, right? And within 24 hours, there's a knock on his door.
Mm-hmm.
Guy in a suit, guy in a military uniform. We need your film, right? Thank you very much. You'll get it back. He never got it back, But according to Croft, how did that? I went straight to the train. I went straight to a train and jumped on a train and got off the train station at home and went home. And Dr. Brown says, unless somebody jumped on that train with him and followed him out of Dealey Plaza, there's no way that's going to happen. But I agree with Dr. Brown. That's a hell of a story. Is it true? I don't know.
Well,
the account came from Croft, but where's his film? What's on his film?
Right. Well, there was a bunch of pictures. There's also the story of a couple of ladies who went and had stuff developed at a drugstore, and they told them the pictures didn't come out. They walked away. There's stuff like that. I'm wondering if this guy got on the same train that the military intelligence guy got on. Because remember that whole story, the guy Powell that we've always asked about, like, why the hell was he there? Why does he have a picture of the school book depository?
Hell, he was in the school book depository.
Yeah. Part of his story wasn't part of his story that he jumped right on a train and let Pound also? Wasn't he one of those guys who did that?
That I don't recall.
Yeah, I'm thinking. But you see, this is the weird thing about it, is there are so many stories of films that have seemed to have disappeared. Now, again, I'm not on board with the people that say, all this stuff was altered and all that, but they had a hell of a dragnet out there where they seem to capture a whole lot of films. And today, none of us, as far as I know, has a hold of the original films. Not even Robert Groden, who has, probably one of the best collections, or had one of the best collections, or whoever else. I don't, not making comments here. I'm just saying he's one of the guys who brought most of those films to us in the 80s, even on home video, right? And even his films, he had earlier copies of this and that, black and white version of something that was broadcast on TV. I think much more film, right? A bunch of different things he had that nobody else had, and yet he doesn't have the originals, and he worked for the HSCA.
The reason it's important, like the Martin film and the Nix film, is that if we don't have the original, we can't trust that what we're looking at is the truth.
Because there are anomalies,
See, and it's not about alteration. Now, a lot of people would go, well, you guys are going to get on the alteration track. You don't even need to go there, because, Rob, you and I both know that the original prints of those films are literally going to contain some information that the copies will not have. There's a bit more detail in there. It's not a small thing like, you definitely get the right color. No, it's not about the color. There's literally information that can be drawn out of chemical prints of film that I think a lot of people don't recognize anymore, because it's a passé thing. I mean, nobody uses chemical film anymore. Everything is digital now, right? So nobody even thinks of this. But I mean, Rob, maybe you could give people an appreciation for why it's so important to get these originals and the type of information. Literally, we could take measurements out of some of those films and get a three-dimensional understanding out of the two-dimensional image. I think people don't understand how that works with this kind of stuff. What do you think about that, Rob?
Well, like just the John T. Martin film, for example, one of the big things with Weisberg and Schoner, who were there at the time, that met with John T. Martin at the University of Minnesota, who got copies of his movie straight from him, right? They asserted that Martin thought, because Martin voluntarily turned his film over to the FBI in December of 1963 because it contained Oswald. And he felt that when he got his film back at the end of January in 1964, that it had been edited. And that part of the film was also captured on film by another family called the Doyle family. who were in New Orleans at the same time and who happened to catch this street fight between Carlos Bernier and Oswald. And interestingly enough, they said, because there was multiple members of their family there, that there was somebody else there with Oswald wearing a placard and handing out these Fair Play for Cuba Committee leaflets that was not in the film. There was somebody with him, and they also turned their film over to the FBI and also felt that the film that they got back had been edited to remove this person. So that becomes a big question, you know. And then later on in the 70s and 80s, when you read descriptions like out of John Wood's III book about the films and photos, you know, it says something about it contains pictures of the bullet hole in General Walker's wall, okay, you know, above the desk where he was sitting. But in the film that we have today at the 6th floor museum, that is not in there. So there's questions about why things are missing. And it's important, you know, when you're trying to figure the stuff like this out, because okay, like we did a deep dive into John T. Martin and who this guy was, right?
Okay.
And we dispelled some myths surrounding who people thought he was. And you know, if you have shots of the interior of General Walker's house, that means you were in his house.
Right.
So this kid, the 17-year-old kid, was in his house. So if you're in General Walker's house, you talking to the man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Now, how a conversation normally goes between people. So you're visiting someone, you're meeting them for the first time. We figured that they probably had corresponded before, since they were both part of the Minutemen organization, and this kid looked up to General Walker, and he knew he was going to Dallas on a family vacation, so he was probably writing with General Walker. Decided to let him know, hey, you know, I'd like to come meet you, blah, blah, blah. So he went to meet him. Walker took him in his house. They had a conversation. Maybe the kid said, oh, yeah, we're going to New Orleans next. Oh, you are? Well, why don't you look up my buddy? His name's Guy Bannister when you get there. You know, he's a Minuteman as well. He's got similar right-wing attitudes and beliefs. Right. You know, and maybe when this kid got to New Orleans, Bannister said, hey, you know what? Do me a favor, since you got that movie camera, why don't you head over there and tape this guy? There's going to be a big old fight over there. You won't want to miss it. You know, hold something on like that, because the odds of this happening on the same roll of film, right, organically, is like a gazillion to one.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about is, you know, first of all, this is pretty crazy to put, because these, you know, it's not like the days when we had VHS camcorders and you could record several hours on a tape. You're talking about, you had like, you know, what's the maximum they had back then? 25 minutes, maybe? Is that what back then, maximum? And a lot of films were shorter than that, your spools of film that you bought. Number one. Number two, the type of relationship you got to have with somebody to have a camera and filming in their house in the 1960s. It's
somebody like Walker who right. People are taking pot shots at him. You know, he's incited race riots. Such a polarizing figure. He's just going to let anybody in his house to film. You know, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
That's why I loved what Greg Dudna did with this recently, where he was tracking down some stuff. I'm sure you guys are aware of that, right? About the Walker shooting and figuring out about the cars that were seen that were present there and stuff. Have you guys? Yeah. He'll be another guy presenting at Lancer too, by the way. But and I'm looking forward. I've actually been asked to be on the Walker panel, which is funny, but I plan to just kind of help run that. But anyways, it's just. There are so many unanswered questions, and even if you just stay on the films, which, by the way, here's another thing. The youngest presenter ever at one of these places, at any of these conferences I've ever seen, is going to be there too. I don't know if you guys are aware of that guy. His name is Alex Harris.
Yes, Alex Harris. Yeah.
The kid. Yeah.
Well, he told me that he's, I think his presentation, part of it is going to be on the DCA, the Dallas Cinema Associates film. Which this all kind of links together. Now, nobody planned this, by the way, guys. I know that nobody, you know, listeners are going, what, did these guys all get together and plan this? It seems to me like everybody had their own separate agendas, and they're sort of coming together in a weird way. There's a couple of sets of presentations here. So I don't know if you were aware of that, guys, but it's hilarious.
Chuck, I'm on the Walker panel as well.
Ah, excellent. You and I will be sitting together.
That's right.
Yeah, and I've been working with Alex for a couple months, behind the scenes with questions about films. Because believe it or not, for a 13-year-old kid, he is very knowledgeable on films and cameras and stuff from that period. We were trying to figure out, because when we looked at the John T. Martin film itself, and you actually look and see what's on there, it cuts from a statue in Lafayette Park, right in New Orleans, to the street fight on Canal Street. So if you open up a map and you look and you see where Lafayette Park is, it is 8 or 9 blocks up Decatur Street, okay, away from the corner of Decatur and Canal, which is where Brinier's store was. The Havana Bar was a couple doors down from that. And the myth was that, this kid heard this commotion going on the next street over and ran over and captured this moment on film of Oswald in the street fight.
Right.
But the last clip on his reel of film is 8 or 9 blocks away from the corner. And then once you turn that corner on Canal, you got to go up another 3 or 4 blocks to where this street fracas actually happened.
Okay.
So there's no way he could have heard it from 13 blocks away. You know what I mean?
Oh,
it almost seems like he was directed to go there.
It doesn't seem very credible that he just happened to wander up there.
Right. I mean, without gunshots being fired, I'm not thinking my attention is going to be pulled that far away. What you're describing, 8 or 9 blocks in New Orleans. I mean, if there were gunshots, maybe I might hear gunshots. I'm hearing a pop over there. You know what I mean? And I could go down. I could see my attention being drawn. But another thing about this is, do we know exactly what kind of camera he had? Are we certain about the type of camera? And therefore, did he have to wind it? Do we know about the mechanism? What kind of shape it was in or anything like that? Because this could also explain why some of the cuts look the way they do in some of the films. And Alex, by the way, for the record, is extremely knowledgeable, more knowledgeable actually on the films and things than a lot of people that I know that have written part of their books based on it, to be honest with you. And yeah, indeed, by the time we do the conference, he'll be 14. And look, I'm very critical of people calling themselves experts or even presenting themselves as to have a level of knowledge to be worth your time. Okay, I'm a little rough on people. Alex, is qualified to do this to my satisfaction based on my interactions with him. I'm sure, Rob, you would agree. Yes. It's a rare situation. Anyway, I just wanted to get that real clear because I had him as a guest on my show. I think I'm the first person to put him on as a podcast guest, and going to be happy to hear from him again in the future. Extremely interesting work. I can't wait to see what he does with the DCA film. Anyway, I know I went into a little thing there and I cut you off, but we're going to get done with this pretty soon, and I want to get around to a couple of things real fast. Rob is going to be presenting on a pre-recorded presentation, but Doug and I will be present at the Lancer conference. So, like he just said, we're both going to be sitting on the Walker panel. I'm just hoping to help control the situation a little bit because my knowledge on it is okay, but it's not up to an expert level. I would not try to do a Walker presentation all by myself. Me either. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say he's always been a focal point for me, an interest of mine, Walker. But I wouldn't call myself an expert by any means, any stretch. Our friend David Boylan, who is a really good friend of mine, he's going to be on the panel as well. And don't be surprised, David, if I just defer to you a lot. Sorry, buddy. Yeah.
And David Boylan will be presenting with Larry Hancock at another point, not just on the Walker panel. Boylan, right? So, and we all know if you're presenting with Larry Hancock, you've got something to say. I
believe their presentation is called "Entangling Oswald," and I think it's Friday night. David is doing a solo presentation on the Odio incident, Sylvia Odio, and the Leon Oswald thing as well that night. Looking forward to all of that.
which I know was something that fascinated Rob for quite a while. The audio thing for a bit. I don't know how long your fascination was with it, but it seemed to me like you kind of got stuck on that for a bit. I don't know what, if you know anything about what's going to be presented there, but that's always an interesting story regarding Sylvia Audio. Also, just a really quick announcement for everybody is I'll be the featured guest on Coast to Coast AM on the 18th. So that Saturday night in the middle of the conference, sadly, I was hoping to get on there before the conference so I could promote it, and not just say, hey, come down on Sunday and see the rest of it. But I'm going to be on Coast to Coast AM from 10 to midnight Pacific time. I think that's how they have me booked as the JFK guest that night. Richard Serrett will be interviewing me.
Well, very cool, man. Very cool.
That's awesome.
But yeah. I keep, anytime I do a JFK show now, I want to announce that to let people know, because I'd really love it if you guys were among the people listening. I'm sure some callers are going to break my balls, and I'm ready for it. Let's go, because they never had a JFK related guest like me before. I promise you that. So anyway, enough out of me and what I'm trying to promote. With the last couple of minutes here, I want you guys to, not only plug your shows, which as far as I know, you guys have 3 of them all together between the Lone Gunman, the Dallas Action, and the Quick Hits. And maybe we should, my listeners should be familiar with Rob, but I'll give you guys links in the show description to go check out the Lone Gunman, to go check out Dallas Action and Quick Hits one way or another. Plus, I've actually got some T-shirts that have all 3 of the show's logos on them that I had printed. I'm going to have some of those at the conference. I got one. Yeah. Already too, and I know there's a couple of you that told me you wanted them, that you're going to be at the conference, then you're going to be able to get one, because it's also got the conference listed on it, limited run, and I got all big sizes for everybody. So just so you know, because I need at least a 2 or 3X, just a long torso, and I'm not exactly a lightweight, so I need the big shirt. I figure everybody can use the big shirt. And worst comes to worst, give it to your girlfriend. Let her use it as a nightgown. Anyways, we're going to definitely do this. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to meeting with Doug, because I don't think I've ever met Doug face to face. I don't think we've ever run into each other anywhere.
I don't think so, man. No.
Going to be a lot of people I'm running into for the first time, and it's going to be good to see Larry Hancock.
Hey, man. It's going to be a lot of fun, homie. I happen to know, and Rob and I talked about this on the Quick Hits we recorded earlier, in person, there's going to be a lot of people, Chuck. In-person attendance is sold out.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, completely sold out. Literally, they sold every ticket that the hotel and fire marshal would allow them.
So if you want tickets to see Lancer, or you're going to have to go to assassinationconference.com and get the video presentation.
Nice.
Virtual attendance. And guys, they do stream the conference. You can watch it from the comfort of your own home. There's a fee for that. There's a stream it once, and then I think there's another level. It's like a $20 more something. You can have access to the presentations online for 30 days. And then there's a premium level, I believe, where you get, you can download them. But check it out. There's going to be a lot going on at JFK Lancer, November in Dallas, 2023 this year. Like Rob, he's going to be going on. Chuck's going to be going on. It's going to be great.
Right. Plus Doug Campbell. Again, you don't get the 3 of us in one spot ever. So, and we're really the side attractions. You got a whole bunch of people going on here. A lot of interesting. So I'm really anxious to see what Alex is going to bring to the table. I'm really anxious to see what David Boylan's going to do. We also got, I think Jeff Morley is still slated to do something. We got, please, we got all these guys on there. There's a big list, and definitely worth it. Now, I wasn't aware it was sold out. Thankfully, I've got a couple of reservations for a couple of spots for people then, because I had to do that. But here we are.
Yeah. I learned that this week from some folks at Lancer, and they're pretty excited about that, which they should be. That's pretty neat. Pretty good. It's going to be great. Going to be a lot of fun. A lot of new stuff to learn. And when else are you going to get a photo op with the Ochelli Effect and the Dallas Action in the same spot? How often does that happen? Right?
there you go. And you can definitely look. I'll autograph whatever you want to. And I'm also going to have some books to give away. A bunch of things I'm going to give away at the conference for people that support the show, especially. So if you're there and you want to support, chip in, help me eat while I'm there for the weekend, because I'm going in there probably with just enough money to get by. So you do that, I will hook you up. I got Walt Brown's book with me. I got a whole bunch of copies of those, which is the Judith Mary Baker book. I've got books by Larry Hancock, books by Michael Swanson, books by William Law, a bunch of people's books that you would definitely want that I'm willing to hand to you for just a little bit of support, or, hey, come by and say hello.
Hey, Chuck,
you know,
you mentioned Mike Swanson, and we would be remiss if we didn't do this when we had an opportunity. You and I chatting for the first time, and Rob here, to thank Wall Street Window. We share a title sponsor.
That's right.
I want to take this opportunity to make sure that to give all gratitude to Wall Street Window and Mike Swanson for all they do to keep the Dallas action going. All the support over the years in many, many ways. I'm sure you feel the same way, but I thought we need to take an opportunity to do that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. No, I can't say it enough times, and I say it all the time. There would be no Ochelli Effect without Mike Swanson's support, and that's a guarantee. I appreciate the listener support, but you guys have come and gone, some of you, and Mike has been there for us and kept us going. There is no way I would have survived doing this as long as I have without Mike Swanson. His contributions intellectually and otherwise have kept this thing going. That's why you hear it at the top of the show. We're supported by Wall Street Window and listeners like you, which, that is absolutely true. And Mike is a listener. So also thanks to Mike just for that. And I was a reader of his before he was a sponsor and all that. I support his books because I believe in the way he writes, the information he puts out. And I'm looking forward to the next book in his Vietnam series too, to be honest. And I'm not just saying that because he's a supporter. I told him, I said, Mike, if you send me a book and it sucks, I'm going to tell you it sucks. But
not me.
Some people might not. I'm
no,
stupid.
But man, dude, even beyond that though, I mean, let me echo what you said. There would be no the Dallas action presented by Wall Street Window without Mike's support, as like you. And hey, he's more than that. He's a friend, and he too will be at Lancer, which I'm extremely excited about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, we'll make a Wall Street Window picture. The three of us. How cool would that be?
We should definitely do that. We won't have Rob with us, but we can, get him on the screen there. Somebody can hold up a laptop with him on it, right?
Well,
hold up a bottle of hot sauce for me.
There you go.
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get him on FaceTime and set him in the middle of the seat next to me at the banquet.
Excellent. Well, we're all going to the banquet too. Anyway, look, the Dallas action. JFK quick hits. You can find all this stuff on Apple. I know that's an easily accessible if you want to get it on
the Dallas action. You won't.
No Dallas action.
That's what I'm told.
Really?
Yeah. Hey, here's what I know. My Spreaker analytics always show hits on Apple.
Right. Okay.
But then other people tell me they can't find it on there, so I don't know. I don't care.
Well, look, the Lone Gunman, and by the way, I think the Lone Gunman might exist without Mike Swanson because Rob's crazy. And I say that with love, Rob. Just saying. You're nuts. I love you. You're one of the craziest guys that is a podcaster and is also highly intelligent. I love you. That's
Big
all.
Bad Bob, baby.
Thank you.
I love this guy. Anyways, and I know he'd exist and he'd be making noise regardless of who was around. And even if nobody listened to him, he'd still be doing it. So, but I know it's a very popular show.
Yeah, like me.
Been there, done that.
But go ahead and tell people where they can find it, because I know we can get the Lone Gunman and quick hits on Apple for sure. But go ahead and tell them where they can get it, Rob, or take a turn. Go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, you can find my stuff anywhere you listen to podcasts. It is literally everywhere. Like I want to know where you can't listen to me at. Okay. On social media, you can generally find me under the moniker at the Lone Gunman 7. Also, head to the YouTube channel, the Lone Gunman Podcast. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell to get notified, because after Lancer, The show will be going live on YouTube. There will still be an audio stream, of course, coming out through Spreaker, but the show is going to be live once a week on YouTube, and maybe more than that. We will see. But that's the plan for now for both shows, the Lone Gunman podcast and also Quick Hits. You can find that on any feed anywhere.
Right. And look, I'm hoping that you do well on YouTube. I got my ass kicked off of there, but I hope that they do not kick you off.
They tried, but I'm back already, and I haven't even got on there yet. But yeah, wow. I'm jumping through the hoops currently, and
they already effing with him, dude. They already effing with him, and he hadn't even started. Yeah.
Well, mirror your stuff on Rumble or something, man. Get it rolling over there. Make sure
we got a plan, Chuck. We got a plan, buddy. No worries.
Okay, because I did not like losing mine after 15 years of being on YouTube. I mean, I started a channel in 2008, and they killed me finally and completely in 2022, I think. After demonetizing me, screwing with me, taking away my channel, I got it back on appeal, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? Finally, they put me to complete rest and destroyed my channel, which had well over 1,000 different pieces on it. 2022. So don't let it happen to you. Please mirror your stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, guys, look, I'm going to close this out. And again, we're going to give you the links in the show notes so you can go and find. And I just went to go look to see Dallas Action on Apple because I could have swore I saw it there. And guess what? It's not there, but it is on Spreaker. It is on Deezer. It is on Spotify, apparently. Let's see what else. There's a bunch of places.
Amazon. You can listen to it on Amazon Prime and Spotify, and a lot of Spotify. And
hey, Alexa, play the Dallas Action.
Oh boy. Hey, Alexa, play the Dallas Action. That'll work that way. Can you ask?
Yeah, she'll go, ew.
Well, now come
really?
On. Is Alexa tied to facial recognition? Because if that's the case, I'm in trouble. I got a face for radio. I know it.
Yeah, so, me too, man. Me too. Not Rob though. Look at him, beautiful bastard. Look at him.
Rob's a movie star. What are you gonna do? He's what movie is coming out with this guy's face? I'm telling you, he's right there. He's Liam Neeson's henchman in the next movie, whatever the hell it is. How about that?
What do you say? Yeah.
Either that or he's going to be a new Marvel villain. I think a Marvel villain. He looks like a Marvel villain.
Ah, man. Yes. Our dynamic is I'm Chester to his Marshall Dillon. That's our dynamic. Is how it works.
Well, there you have it. And I couldn't have said it any better. So the Ochelli Effect is done, guys. And so no matter who you are, where you are, when you are, I want you to check out the Dallas Action, JFK Quick Hits, and, of course, the Lone Gunman podcast. But no matter who you are, where you are, when you are, remember this. I am merely Ochelli. All of you are a DP Effect. Take care.
Peace.
Peace.